The cold void of space stretched endlessly in all directions as the Zephyrian research vessel Voidseeker drifted through the outer rim of the Kepler system. Captain Vextar stood on the bridge, his tall, crystalline form reflecting the blue light from the control panels. His six-fingered hands moved gracefully over the smooth surfaces as he reviewed the day's readings. "Captain," called Dr. Kalenth from her station. Her voice carried the musical tones common to all Zephyrians. "Detecting something unusual ahead. A large metallic object approximately 2 kilometers in length." Vextar turned his elegant head toward the main viewing screen. His large, dark eyes focused on the image that appeared. What he saw made him pause. The object was clearly a spaceship, but its design was crude and primitive compared to Zephyrian technology. The hull was scarred and pitted from centuries of micrometeorite impacts. "Analysis," Vextar commanded. Dr. Kalenth's fingers danced over her console. "The ship appears to be of human origin, Captain. The design matches historical records from before the Great Purge. I am reading minimal power signatures, but the vessel appears to be running on emergency systems." A ripple of surprise moved through the bridge crew. Humans were a legend now, a cautionary tale told throughout the galaxy. They had been a primitive species that barely achieved interstellar travel before the Dominion Empire eliminated them. 3 centuries ago, most considered them nothing more than an evolutionary dead end. "Human," whispered Zillera, a young technician at the communications station. "I thought they were all gone." Security Chief Morden stepped forward, his usually calm demeanor showing tension. "Captain, I advise caution. We should report this discovery to the Dominion authorities and maintain distance." Vextar considered this. The Dominion ruled the galaxy with absolute authority. Finding relics from extinct species without proper notification could result in severe punishment. However, his scientific curiosity outweighed his fear. The chance to study actual human remains was too valuable to pass up. "We will investigate," he decided. "Dr. Kalenth, prepare a boarding team. I want to know what secrets this ship holds." The boarding party consisted of Dr. Kalenth, 2 security officers, and young Zillera, who had volunteered for the mission. They crossed the void in a small shuttle and docked with the human vessel through an emergency airlock. The ship's artificial gravity was still functioning, though barely. As they moved through the corridors, their portable lights revealed the stark reality of the vessel. The walls were lined with frost, and their breath formed clouds in the frigid air. Emergency lighting flickered occasionally, casting eerie shadows on the metal surfaces. "The construction is so primitive," observed Dr. Kalenth, running her scanner over the walls. "They used actual welded metal joints instead of molecular bonding. How did they expect this to survive interstellar travel?" Zillera remained quiet, but she found something oddly impressive about the ship's solid construction. While it lacked elegance, it seemed built to last. Every surface showed signs of careful maintenance and repair. They soon discovered the ship's purpose. Room after room contained rows of cryogenic pods, each designed to keep a single occupant in suspended animation. Most of the pods had failed centuries ago, their occupants long dead. The sight was both fascinating and tragic. "Over 400 pods," Dr. Kalenth reported into her communicator. This was clearly a colony ship. The humans were attempting to establish settlements beyond their home system when the Dominion found them. They were preparing to leave when Zillera's scanner detected something different. "Doctor, this pod is still active. Power readings are stable, and I am detecting life signs." Dr. Kalenth rushed to examine the pod. Inside, visible through a layer of frost on the transparent cover, was a human male. He appeared to be in his early 30s, with dark hair and a strong build. His features were peaceful, as if he were simply sleeping. "Remarkable," she breathed. "After 3 centuries, the pod has maintained perfect stasis. This human is in perfect condition." She immediately contacted Captain Vextar. "Captain, we have made an extraordinary discovery. We have found a living human in perfect suspended animation." The response came quickly. "Are you certain, Doctor? Completely?" "Certain, sir. His vital signs are stable. The cryogenic system is functioning perfectly despite the ship's age. With proper medical care, this human could be safely revived." There was a long pause before Vexstar responded. "Bring him aboard immediately. This could be the most significant scientific discovery in centuries." Security Chief Morden's voice cut through the communication. "Captain, I strongly advise against this action. Humans are an unknown quantity. We have no idea how dangerous. This individual might be." "The humans were eliminated precisely because they posed no real threat to the Dominion," Vexstar replied. "One primitive human cannot possibly endanger a Zephyrian vessel. Proceed with the transfer." The medical team carefully extracted the cryogenic pod and transported it to the Void Seeker. Dr. Callanth supervised every step of the revival process in the ship's medical bay. As the temperature slowly rose and the chemical cocktail that had preserved the human's body was gradually neutralized, everyone watched with fascination. The human's eyes opened slowly. He blinked several times, his gaze unfocused as his brain struggled to process his surroundings. Dr. Callanth leaned forward, speaking in the common galactic language that had been standard for centuries. "Do not be alarmed. You are safe." "Dr. Callanth, can you understand me?" The human's eyes focused on her crystalline features. Its expression showed surprise, but no fear. When he spoke, his voice was rough from centuries of disuse. "I understand you. Where am I? What happened to my ship? You have been in suspended animation for approximately 300 years. Your vessel was discovered drifting in space. I'm afraid your species." Dr. Callanth paused, unsure how to deliver such devastating news gently. "Gone," the human said simply. "Earth fell to the Dominion. I know. That's why we launched the colony ships." He sat up slowly, his movements careful but confident. "Jake Morrison, former Colonial Defense Force, Engineering Division." Captain Vexstar entered the medical bay, his imposing height causing Jake to look up. "Mr. Morrison, I am Captain Vexstar. You are aboard a Zephyrian research vessel. We have given you medical care and shelter." Jake studied the captain's alien features with apparent curiosity rather than fear. "Zephyrians? I remember reading about your species in the intelligence briefings. You achieved faster than light travel about 50 years before we did. You are well informed for a member of such a primitive species," Dexter observed. Something flickered in Jake's eyes, but his expression remained neutral. "We tried to learn everything we could about our neighbors." Knowledge seemed important for survival. Over the following days, Jake became a source of endless fascination for the Zephyrian crew. Dr. Callanth conducted extensive medical examinations, amazed by human physiology. Jake's cardiovascular system was incredibly efficient. His muscle density higher than expected, and his neural pathways showed remarkable adaptability. "Your species evolved on a high-gravity world with significant environmental challenges," she observed during one examination. "Your bodies are designed for stress and survival in ways we never expected." Jake proved to be intelligent and cooperative. He learned Zephyrian customs quickly and showed genuine interest in their technology. Zillera, who had been assigned to help him adjust to life aboard the ship, found him surprisingly easy to talk to. "What was Earth like?" she asked during one of their conversations in the ship's common area. Jake's expression grew distant. "Beautiful, dangerous. We had oceans that could swallow continents and storms that could level cities, mountains that scraped the sky, and deserts that went on forever. It made us strong, I think. We had to be strong to survive it." "The Dominion records say humans were a peaceful species," Zillera mentioned innocently. Jake was quiet for a long moment. "We were many things. Peaceful was sometimes one of them." As days passed, Jake integrated himself into the ship's routine. He helped with minor repairs, his engineering background proving useful despite the technological gap. The crew began to see him as harmless, even endearing in his primitive way. But Jake was watching everything, learning everything, and deep. Within his enhanced physiology, systems that had been dormant for 3 centuries were slowly beginning to wake up. 2 weeks had passed since Jake Morrison joined the crew of the Void Seeker. The human had settled into ship life with surprising ease, helping wherever he could and asking countless questions about everything he encountered. To the Zephyrians, he seemed like an eager student, desperate to understand the galaxy that had changed so much during his long sleep. Dr. Kalinth continued her studies of human physiology with growing amazement. Each test revealed new surprises about Jake's biology. His reaction time was faster than any species on record. His muscle fibers could generate tremendous force when needed. His brain showed neural activity patterns that defied conventional understanding. "Look at these readings," she told Captain Vexstar as they reviewed the latest scans. "His nervous system has pathways that appear completely unused. It is as if significant portions of his brain are simply dormant. Perhaps humans only used a small percentage of their mental capacity," Vexstar suggested. "It would explain why they were eliminated so icily by the Dominion." Dr. Kalinth nodded, but something about the readings bothered her. The dormant areas were not random or scattered. They formed complex networks that looked almost designed, as if they served a specific purpose that had simply not been activated yet. Jake spent most of his free time with Zillera, who had become his unofficial guide to modern galactic society. She was patient with his endless questions and seemed genuinely interested in human culture. During their conversations in the ship's observation deck, she told him about the current state of the galaxy. "The Dominion controls everything now," she explained, gesturing toward the stars visible through the transparent metal. "Every major species serves them in some capacity. The Zephyrians provide scientific research. The Corlin handle manufacturing. The Vorthan manage agricultural worlds. If a species refuses to serve," Jake asked. Zillera's crystalline features darkened slightly. "That does not happen anymore. The Dominion made examples of those who resisted. Your people were among the last to be ... dealt with." Jake was quiet for a long moment, staring out at the stars. "Tell me about the Dominion military. What makes them so powerful?" "Their technology is far beyond anything we possess," Zillera replied. "Their ships are massive, their weapons can destroy entire planets, and their soldiers are bred for war. The Kroner warriors are 7 feet tall and stronger than any other known species. They fear nothing. Everyone fears something," Jake said softly. "The trick is figuring out what." Something in his tone made Zillera look at him more closely. For just a moment, his expression had changed. The curious, friendly human was gone, replaced by something harder, more calculating. Then the moment passed, and Jake smiled at her with his usual warmth. As the days continued, Jake began to demonstrate abilities that surprised the crew. When a power coupling failed in the engine room, he diagnosed the problem faster than the ship's engineers. When a complex mathematical problem arose during navigation calculations, he solved it in his head while the computers were still processing the data. "How did you do that?" asked Chief Engineer Lexton after Jake repaired a malfunctioning sensor array using techniques no one had seen before. "Basic engineering principles," Jake replied. "We had to be creative on Earth. Our technology was simpler, so we learned to make it work in ways the designers never intended." Lexton studied the repair Jake had made. It was elegant in its simplicity. Using existing components in a completely new configuration, the modification actually improved the sensor's performance beyond its original specifications. "Your species must have been more advanced than the historical records suggest," the engineer observed. Jake shrugged. "We were practical. When your survival depends on making things work, you get good at finding solutions." Late one night, as Jake worked alone in the ship's workshop, Security Chief Morrison decided to observe him. The human had requested access to some basic materials, claiming he wanted to build a small device to help him sleep better. Morrison watched through the security monitors as Jake's hands moved with incredible precision, assembling components with the skill of a master craftsman. What concerned Morrison was not what Jake was building, but how he was building it. The human's movements were too precise, too efficient. His fingers never hesitated, never made unnecessary motions. It was as if he had built the device 1,000 times before, even though he claimed it was his own design. The finished product looked innocent enough. Jake had constructed a small device that generated low-frequency sounds, supposedly to help regulate his sleep cycle. But Morrison noticed that Jake had also incorporated several components that seemed to serve no purpose in a sleep aid. When Morrison mentioned his concerns to Captain Vexstar, the captain dismissed them. "The human is grieving for his lost species and trying to find ways to cope. allow him this small comfort. But Jake's behavior was changing in other subtle ways. His questions became more focused, more tactical. He asked about ship designs, defense systems, and communication protocols. When Zilara showed him star charts, he studied them with the intensity of someone memorizing strategic positions. Jake Zilara asked during one of their evening conversations, "What did you do in the Colonial Defense Force?" "Engineering mostly," he replied. "Kept things running, solved problems, that sort of thing." "What kind of problems?" Jake's eyes seemed to look through her for a moment as if seeing something far away. "All kinds. Sometimes you have to fix a water recycler. Sometimes you have to figure out how to make a bomb from spare parts. Depends on what the situation requires." The casual way he mentioned making bombs sent a chill through Zilara. She had grown fond of the human, but comments like that reminded her that he came from a species that had fought the entire galaxy. "Did you ever see combat?" she asked carefully. "Everyone saw combat," Jake replied. "When the Dominion came, there was no such thing as non-combatants. Engineers, doctors, teachers, children, everyone fought. Everyone had to. That must have been terrible." Jake considered this. It was necessary. We knew we were outnumbered. We knew we would probably lose, but we also knew that every day we held out was another day for the colony ships to get away, for our people to find new homes among the stars. His voice carried no anger or bitterness, just a matter-of-fact acceptance that disturbed Zilara more than rage would have. This was a person who had made peace with the idea of fighting impossible odds. That night, Jake's sleep device activated for the first time. The low-frequency sounds it generated were indeed soothing, but they also served another purpose. Specific frequency matched a trigger signal embedded deep in Jake's enhanced nervous system, signal that had been waiting 300 years for activation. As Jake slept, changes began occurring throughout his body. Dormant neural pathways started to re-establish connections. Muscle fibers began to restructure themselves at the molecular level. Glands that had been inactive since his freezing began producing specialized chemicals that enhanced reaction time, strength, and cognitive function. Dr. Kalenth noticed the changes during Jake's routine medical scan the next morning. "Fascinating," she murmured as she reviewed the readings. "Your neural activity has increased by 30% overnight. Are you feeling different in any way?" Jake stretched, his movements seeming more fluid than before. "I slept well, better than I have since waking up. Maybe I'm finally adjusting to being active again." But Jake was more than adjusting. He was remembering. Not memories of his past life, but memories that had been implanted in his enhanced brain. During his military training, tactical protocols, combat techniques, and strategic knowledge that had been locked away until his body was ready to handle them. As he worked alongside the crew that day, Jake appeared the same friendly, curious, human they had grown to know. But beneath the surface, systems were coming online that had been designed for one purpose: to turn a regular human being into a weapon that could fight an entire galaxy. The Dominion patrol ships were still 3 days away, but Jake's enhanced senses had already detected the faint traces of their exhaust signatures. Soon, the Zephyrians would discover that they had not rescued a helpless refugee. They had awakened something that the galaxy had spent 3 centuries trying to forget. The alarm klaxons woke everyone aboard the Void Seeker at 0347 ship time. Jake sat up in his small quarters, instantly alert despite having been deep asleep moments before. His enhanced nervous system processed the sound pattern and identified it as a proximity alert. Something large was approaching the ship. Captain Vextar's voice echoed through the communication system. "All crew 2 stations. We have 3 Dominion vessels approaching. Repeat, Dominion vessels inbound." Jake moved quickly through the corridors toward the bridge. Other crew members rushed past him, their crystalline features showing the fear that all species felt when confronted by Dominion authority. But Jake felt something different. His enhanced physiology was flooding his system with chemicals that sharpened his senses and cleared his mind. On the bridge, the main viewing screen showed 3 massive ships approaching. Each vessel was dark gray, angular, and covered with weapon ports. The smallest was twice the size of the Void Seeker. The largest could have carried a dozen Zephyrian ships in its cargo bay. Incoming transmission, announced Communications Officer Veltar. The screen flickered and displayed the image of a Kroner commander. The reptilian being was enormous, with scales that looked like natural armor and eyes that glowed with predatory intelligence. When he spoke, his voice was deep and commanding. Zephyrian vessel. This is Commander Thexmore of the Dominion Third Fleet. You will prepare for immediate boarding and inspection. Any resistance will result in your destruction. Captain Vextar stepped forward, his elegant form seeming fragile compared to the Kroner on the screen. Commander, we are a peaceful research vessel, conducting routine scientific studies. We have nothing to hide. It will be determined during inspection, Thexmore replied. We have detected unusual energy. Signatures from your sector. You will not move your vessel or attempt to transmit any messages. Compliance is mandatory. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in tense silence. Jake watched the Zephyrian crew's reactions with growing interest. They were terrified, but they were also resigned to whatever would happen. This was how the galaxy worked now. Dominion commanded, and everyone obeyed. Captain Security Chief Morrison said quietly, "We should prepare for the inspection. If they discover the human ... They will execute him," Vextar finished. "And probably us as well for harboring him." Jake stepped forward. These energy signatures they detected. Dr. Kalenth consulted her instruments. Likely residual traces from the human colony ship's reactor. The Dominion has very sensitive equipment for detecting old Earth technology. Why would they care about old Earth technology? Jake asked, though something in his enhanced memory was already providing answers. Zillera looked at him with growing concern because the Dominion has never stopped hunting for human survivors. They believe that even one human left alive could be dangerous. Jake felt a cold smile cross his face. One human? How dangerous could one human be? Before anyone could? Answer, the ship shuddered as the Dominion vessels locked onto it with tractor beams. Through the viewing ports, Jake could see smaller ships detaching from the main vessels. Boarding craft filled with Kroner warriors. Jake, Captain Vextar said urgently, "You must hide. We will tell them you are a different species, perhaps a Zephyrian who was injured in an accident." "That won't work," Jake replied, his voice strangely calm. "They'll scan me. They'll know exactly what I am the moment they see me." "Then what do you suggest?" Morrison asked. Jake looked around the bridge at the frightened faces of beings who had shown him kindness. "How many Kroner warriors are on those?" "Boarding craft?" 12 Veltar reported from his station. "Standard Dominion inspection team?" 12, Jake repeated thoughtfully. "That's not very many." The first boarding craft attached to the Void Seeker's hull with a metallic clang. Jake could hear the cutting tools beginning to work on the airlock doors, walked to the bridge's emergency supply locker, and removed a basic toolkit. "Jake, what are you doing?" Zillera asked. "Buying you time," he replied. "When they come aboard, stay on the bridge. Lock the doors behind me. Don't open them until I tell you it's safe." "You can't fight 12 Kroner warriors," Morrison protested. "They're trained killers. They're 7 feet tall and stronger than any known species." Jake paused at the bridge entrance. When he turned back, his expression had changed completely. The friendly, curious human was gone. In his place stood something that made even the Zephyrians take a step back. "They're not stronger than humans," Jake said quietly. "Just think they are." The boarding craft had cut through the airlock. Jake could hear heavy footsteps in the corridor as the Kroner warriors entered the ship. He moved through the Void Seeker's passages with complete silence, his enhanced senses tracking every movement the invaders made. The Kroner moved in standard military formation, checking each room methodically. Their equipment was advanced, their tactics professional. They were clearly experienced in boarding operations and confident in their abilities. Jake found them in the ship's main cargo hold. 12 Kroner warriors in full combat armor, carrying weapons that could punch through the ship's hull. Commander Thexmore led them, his massive form dwarfing his already large subordinates. "Scan everything," Thexmore ordered. Our strongest in this section? Jake stepped out of the shadows. Looking for something? The Kroners spun toward him, weapons raised. When they saw Jake, their reaction was immediate and violent. Every warrior pointed their weapon at him, and next Morrison. Eyes went wide with recognition. "Human," the commander hissed. "Impossible." "Hello, Commander," Jake said conversationally. "I hear you've been looking for my kind. Kill it," Dexmore ordered. "Kill it now." The Kroner opened fire simultaneously. Energy beams filled the cargo hold with deadly light. But Jake was no longer. Where he had been standing, his enhanced reflexes had allowed him to move before the weapons finished charging. And he was already among the warriors before they realized. He had dodged. What happened next would have been impossible for any normal human. Jake's enhanced physiology transformed him into something that moved faster than the Kroner could track. He used their own weapons against them, turning their formation into chaos with surgical precision. The first warrior went down when Jake redirected his weapon's energy beam into his own chest. The second fell when Jake used the cargo hold's loading equipment to crush him. The third discovered that humans could be creative with simple tools when Jake drove a piece of the ship's hull plating through his armor. Commander Dexmore watched in horror as his elite warriors were systematically destroyed by a single human, using nothing but improvised weapons and impossible speed. The human moved like death itself, striking from unexpected angles and using the environment as a weapon. "What are you?" Dexmore gasped as Jake stood over the last of his fallen warriors. "I'm what you were afraid of," Jake replied. "I'm what you spent 300 years making sure didn't exist." The commander raised his weapon, but Jake moved faster. In one fluid motion, he disarmed the Kroner and drove the alien's own combat knife into his throat. As Dexmore collapsed, Jake spoke into his communicator. "This is Jake Morrison, Colonial Defense Force. I'm sending a message to every Dominion vessel in the sector. Humanity has returned." The cargo hold fell silent, except for Jake's steady breathing. His enhanced systems were fully active now, flooding his mind with tactical data and strategic possibilities. He looked at the bodies of the Kroner warriors and felt no satisfaction, only the cold calculation of a weapon designed for war. On the bridge, the Zephyrian crew watched through the security monitors in stunned silence. They had witnessed something that would haunt their dreams for years to come. The gentle human they had rescued had become something that destroyed an entire squad of the galaxy's most feared warriors. Jake's voice came through the communication system. "Captain Vexstar, it's safe to come down now. We need to talk." The bridge of the Void Seeker felt different when Jake returned. The Zephyrian crew looked at him with a mixture of fear and awe that had not been there before. Captain Vexstar stood rigid at his command station, while Dr. Callanth clutched her medical scanner with trembling hands. Only Zalara met his eyes, though even she seemed uncertain about who he really was. "The Dominion ships are pulling back," Communications Officer Veltar reported, his voice barely steady. "They are maintaining distance but not leaving the system." Jake moved to the central console and began working with the ship's controls. His fingers moved across the Zephyrian interfaces with the same deadly precision he had shown in combat. "They're waiting for reinforcements. Commander the Smore would have sent an emergency signal before boarding. The entire Third Fleet will," Be here within hours. How do you know Dominion fleet protocols? Security Chief Morrison asked suspiciously. Because we studied them for 50 years before they found Earth, Jake replied, without looking up. We knew this day would come. We prepared for it. Captain Vextar stepped closer, trying to understand what Jake was doing to his ship. Mr. Morrison, I think we deserve an explanation. What you did down there was impossible. No single being could defeat 12 Kroner warriors. Jake paused in his work and turned to face the captain. You want the truth? The human you rescued doesn't exist. Jake Morrison died on Earth 300 years ago, along with everyone else. What you thawed was a weapon designed to kill everything the Dominion could throw at us. A weapon, Dr. Callanth whispered. It's enhanced human, super soldier. Call it whatever makes you comfortable, Jake said. My nervous system was modified too. Process information faster than any organic brain should be able to. My muscles were genetically altered to generate forces that would tear a normal human apart. My bones were reinforced with synthetic materials. I was built to fight aliens, and I was very good at my job. He returned to the console, his enhanced mind processing the ship's capabilities at superhuman speed. The colony ship you found wasn't running from Earth's destruction. It was part of Operation Seedfall, a secret mission to establish hidden human settlements throughout the galaxy. There are 47 other ships like mine scattered across this sector alone. Zillara found her voice. You mean there are more? Humans alive? Thousands, Jake confirmed. All enhanced. All waiting. All very angry about what happened to our world. The ship's sensors suddenly detected new activity. Jake's modifications to the communication array had been scanning for specific energy signatures. And now they had found what he was looking for. Captain, I'm detecting 3 more derelict vessels within 2 light-years of our position. Veltar announced. The energy signatures match the human colony ship we found. Excellent, Jake said with satisfaction. We're going to wake them up. Absolutely not, Morrison protested. One of you nearly destroyed our ship. Cannot handle more enhanced humans. Jake turned to face the security chief, and something in his expression made the Zephyrian step back. Chief Morrison, you misunderstand the situation. I'm not asking for permission. I'm explaining what's going to happen. The ship's main screen flickered, then displayed a tactical overview of the surrounding space. Jake had somehow accessed military grade, scanning protocols that showed detail far beyond the Voidseeker's normal capabilities. The Dominion Third Fleet consists of 18 ships, Jake explained, pointing to red markers on the display. They're spread across 4 systems, but they're converging on this position. We have approximately 6 hours before they arrive in overwhelming force. Then we should run, Captain Vextar said. Our ship is fast. We could reach neutral space. There is no neutral space, Jake replied. The Dominion controls everything. It will hunt you until they find you, and when they do, they will kill. Everyone aboard this ship for helping me. Dr. Callanth looked at her scanner readings from Jake's enhancement. The neural modifications you described would require technology far beyond what humans possessed 3 centuries ago. How is this possible? Jake was quiet for a moment, accessing memories that were both his own and not his own. Earth didn't. Develop the enhancement technology. We found it. In the ruins of a civilization that the Dominion had destroyed 1,000 years earlier, we learned that the galaxy has a long history of species that refuse to submit, and the Dominion has always found ways to eliminate them. What happened to that civilization? Zillara asked. You were called the Architects? They built incredible technologies, but they were peaceful by nature. When the Dominion came, they tried to negotiate to find common ground. It didn't work. The Dominion doesn't negotiate with equals. Jake's hands moved over the controls again, and the ship began changing course toward the nearest derelict human vessel. The Architects left behind automated facilities hidden throughout the galaxy. Secret bases designed to help future species resist Dominion rule. Earth found one of them. And you used their technology to enhance yourselves, Vextar realized. Used their technology to level the playing field, Jake corrected. The Dominion had already decided to eliminate humanity. We just made sure it would cost them everything. The first derelict ship appeared on their sensors within hours. Guided the Void Seeker to dock with the ancient vessel, then led a boarding party to its cryogenic storage areas. The Zephyrians watched nervously as he revived two more enhanced humans, Lisa Carter, a former intelligence officer, and David Brown, a tactical specialist. Both humans awakened with the same instant alertness that Jake had shown when they learned about Earth's fate and the current situation. Their reactions were swift and professional. They began working with Jake to modify the Void Seeker's systems with the same ruthless efficiency. 3 enhanced humans are turning our peaceful research vessel into a warship. Dr. Callanth observed privately to Captain Vextar. They are turning it into something that might survive what's coming, Vextar replied. Ha! Reviewed the historical records. Every species that resisted the Dominion was eliminated completely. Every species except humans. I understand why. As they traveled to the second derelict ship, Jake explained the true scope of Operation Seedfall to the Zephyrian crew. Each colony ship carried 50 enhanced humans and 10,000 civilians in cryogenic storage. We also carried everything needed to establish hidden bases, manufacturing equipment, weapons, genetic samples, and complete databases of human knowledge. Why did you scatter so widely? Lara asked. Because we knew the Dominion would hunt for survivors, Lisa Carter answered, as she worked on upgrading the ship's defensive systems. Spreading out meant they couldn't eliminate all of us at once. Planned to wait, to build strength, and eventually to take back what they stole from us. David Brown looked up from the weapons console he was modifying. The plan was to wait 50 years, maybe 100. Let them think they had one completely. Then we would wake up and remind the galaxy what humans are capable of. But you were found early, Vextar observed. 300 years early, Jake. Agreed. Which means we're not as prepared as we wanted to be. But sometimes you have to work with what you have. The second derelict ship yielded for more enhanced humans. Then the third ship provided 6 more. By the time they were finished, 13 enhanced humans worked alongside the Zephyrian crew, transforming the Void Seeker into something the galaxy had not seen in 3 centuries. Human warship. As the modified ship raced toward a predetermined rendezvous point, Jake stood on the bridge looking at the approaching Dominion fleet. His enhanced senses could detect their energy signatures from incredible distances, and his tactical mind was already calculating attack vectors and defensive strategies. Jake Solara said quietly beside him, "What happens now?"
We remind
the galaxy why they were afraid of us, Jake replied. And we show them that 300 years of rage has made us much worse than they remember. The Dominion Third Fleet arrived exactly when Jake had predicted. 18 massive warships dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation, their hulls bristling with enough firepower to level entire planets. Admiral Corvintax commanded them. From his flagship, the Eternal Dominion, a vessel so large it cast shadows across smaller moons, Jake stood on the bridge of the Void Seeker, watching the enemy fleet deploy. The Zephyrian research vessel looked pathetically small compared to the approaching armada, but Jake felt no fear. His enhanced nervous system was processing tactical data at superhuman speed, calculating odds and possibilities that would have overwhelmed any normal mind. "Coming transmission," announced Veltar from the communications station. The main screen flickered, revealing the imposing figure of Admiral Corvintax. The Kroner leader was even larger than Commander Thexmore had been, with battle scars covering his reptilian features and eyes that burned with 3 centuries of authority. "I am Admiral Corvintax, Supreme Commander of the Third Fleet," the alien announced. "I was present at the destruction of Earth. I watched your pathetic world burn. Surrender now, and I will grant you the honor of dying quickly." Forward into the transmission's pickup range. When Admiral Corvintax saw him, the ancient warrior's expression changed from arrogance to something approaching fear. "Impossible," the Admiral whispered. "We killed them all. Every last one." "You killed a world," Jake replied calmly. "You didn't kill an idea?" "Hello, Admiral. I've been looking forward to meeting you for 300 years. The transmission cut off abruptly. Within minutes, the entire Dominion fleet began moving toward the Void Seeker with lethal intent. Their weapons charged, their shields activated. and their fighters launched in swarms that darkened the space around them. Captain Vexstar watched the approaching armada with growing terror. "Jake, we must surrender. No single ship can fight an entire fleet." "You're right," Jake agreed. "No single ship can fight a fleet. That's why we're not going to fight them ship to ship." He activated the modifications he and the other enhanced humans had made to the Void Seeker's systems. The ship's sensors suddenly revealed what had been hidden. Dozens of other vessels scattered throughout the system, all previously undetectable but now powering up their engines and weapons. "Colony ships," Dr. Callanth breathed as she watched the display. "There are colony ships everywhere." 47 ships, Jake confirmed, each carrying 50 enhanced humans who have been waiting 3 centuries for this moment. Admiral Corvintax is about to discover what happens when humans have time to prepare. The human ships moved with coordination that seemed impossible for vessels that had been scattered across the system. But Jake's enhanced mind was networked with every other enhanced human through quantum communication arrays, built with architect technology. They moved as one organism, thinking and planning with a collective intelligence that no alien species had ever encountered. Admiral Corvintax's fleet found itself surrounded. The human ships were smaller and appeared less advanced, but they moved with a precision that turned space combat into something resembling art. They struck at weak points, used the Dominion ship's own weapons against them, employed tactics that had been refined through 50 years of fighting impossible odds. The first Dominion ship to fall was destroyed not by superior firepower, but by a human vessel that rammed directly into its command bridge. The enhanced humans aboard had calculated that sacrificing one ship would cripple 3 enemy vessels, and they made that trade without hesitation. "They're insane," Admiral Corvintax roared as he watched his forces take devastating losses.
Ow.
"Species fights like this. No one sacrifices themselves so readily. But the humans weren't sacrificing themselves carelessly. Every loss was calculated. Every death served a purpose. When a human ship's life support failed, its crew used their last moments to overload the reactor and take out nearby enemy vessels. When Dominion boarding parties tried to capture human ships, they found that enhanced humans fought even more viciously in close combat than they did in space. Jake's ship, the Void Seeker, became the focal point of the battle. Admiral Corvintax directed his entire fleet to destroy the vessel that carried the first awakened human. But Jake had spent weeks modifying the ship's systems with technology that combined Zephyrian science, human engineering, and architect innovations. The Void Seeker moved through the battle like a ghost, appearing where the enemy least expected and striking with devastating precision. Jake used the ship's research equipment as weapons, turning scientific instruments into tools of war with the same creativity his species had always shown. Jake's Alara called out as enemy fire shook the ship around them, the main Dominion. "Flagship is targeting us directly. Cannot survive a direct assault." "We're not going to survive it," Jake replied. "We're going to end it." He activated the final modification he had made to the ship's systems. The Void Seeker's engine core began to overload in a carefully controlled sequence that would turn the entire vessel into a massive weapon. But instead of fleeing, Jake piloted the ship directly toward Admiral Corvintax's flagship. His flagship. "Crew to escape pods," Jake ordered. "This is going to get dangerous." "We're not leaving," Captain Vexstar announced. "This is our ship, and you are our responsibility." "Besides," Dr. Callanth added with surprising courage, "someone needs to record what happens here for history." The Void Seeker crashed through the Eternal Dominion's shields using a technique that Jake had learned from studying architect technology. The research vessel's hull tore open as it penetrated the massive warship's defenses. But Jake's enhanced reflexes kept them alive long, enough to reach the flagship's command center. What followed was not a battle, but a demonstration. Jake and his fellow enhanced humans moved through the Dominion flagship like a force of nature, destroying critical systems and eliminating resistance with ruthless efficiency. Admiral Corvintax found himself face to face with the same human, who had transmitted to him hours earlier. "You want to know why the galaxy feared us?" Jake asked, as he stood over the defeated admiral. "It wasn't our technology. It wasn't our ships. It was this. We never stop fighting. We never give up. and we never forget. Admiral Corvintax, the being who had watched Earth burn, died knowing that his victory had been an illusion. The humans had survived, and they had learned from their defeat. Jake activated the ship's communication array one final time, broadcasting on every frequency the Dominion used. His message reached every corner of the galaxy. Every species that lived under Dominion rule, every being who had forgotten that resistance was possible. This is Jake Morrison, Colonial Defense Force, speaking for all of humanity. 300 years ago, you thought you destroyed us. You were wrong. We scattered across the stars, we built new homes, and we never stopped preparing for this day. The Dominion dies here. The galaxy remembers freedom here. And if any species, anywhere, ever tries to repeat what the Dominion did to Earth, they will discover that humans have very long memories and infinite patience for revenge. As the eternal Dominion exploded around them, Jake looked at the Zephyrian crew who had chosen to stay with him. Thank you for waking me up. I hope the galaxy that comes next is worthy of your kindness. The battle ended with the destruction of the entire Dominion Third Fleet. Across the galaxy, other human ships began broadcasting similar messages. The species that the Dominion thought they had eliminated completely had returned, and they brought with them 3 centuries of suppressed rage and technological advancement. The age of Dominion rule was over. The age of human retribution had begun. Captain Vextar, watching the aftermath from an escape pod, spoke the words that would echo through galactic history. They didn't thaw a human. They thawed the reason why humans terrified the galaxy.